Welcome back to the Get Off the Treadmill podcast for small business owners and entrepreneurs, where we show you how to build a successful business and to have a life too. We're going to dive into another topic that helps us make more money in less time and to get off the treadmill so we can experience a life of significance. And now, your host and the author of the #1 best-selling business book, Making Money is Killing Your Business, Chuck Blakeman.
Hi guys, welcome to our latest 3 to 5 podcast in Malaga. I've got two heavyweights of the business world, Chuck Blakeman from Denver and John Heenan from Belfast. Today's topic is going to be work-life balance. What does that mean? Is it even a thing? Can we source work-life balance, Chuck?
It's a good question. I've been dealing with this for years, and it always bothered me that we talked about work-life balance because I've never understood it. I get the image of two people on a teeter-totter, and they're just sitting there balanced.
Yeah.
And balance to me isn't very fun. It isn't very exciting. You don't really grow being balanced. But we've had this. I get where it comes from because when we started going to factories in the 1850s, we started leaving home and going to work. We needed to make sure that we understood that we needed to come back and have a work-life balance, so we spend X amount of time at work and X amount of time at home, and we have the balance between the two. But for thousands of years, we didn't balance that. We integrated it. You would go out in the morning and you'd milk the cows, and then you'd go and have breakfast with your wife, and then you'd go out and do something else in the field, and then come out for lunch. We just integrated life and integrated work. It wasn't something we separated out and tried to make this structured boundary around. So I think we've lost in the context of doing that, we've lost the understanding of what it really means to be balanced. And I prefer the word integration, that I'm going to integrate everything I do, and I'm going to do those things when they should be done. So that's the difference between my understanding of work-life balance is too often we had somebody at the group the other day saying, my work is from 8 to 5. I work from 8 to 5, and then I go home and then I have 2 hours with the kids, and then I put the kids to bed, and then I have time with my wife, and I have great work-life balance. Yeah. Well, I think if you're integrating, you don't make some kind of static schedule for yourself that you never check in on. If you're integrating your life with your work, you might ask yourself, what do I do on Tuesday at 3 o'clock if my kid has a play at work? Well, I'm sorry, I can't do that because that's my balanced time at work.
Yeah.
Well, I would say you need to be integrated in the way you work, and you just integrate all this stuff. And so you go to be with your kid from 3 o'clock to go to that play because you'll never have that chance again.
So you're basically saying then we should not separate it into boxes, but basically integrate it into a...
Yeah, I think the way I see it is I should always be asking myself the question, what should I be doing right now? To me, that's what it feels like. And sometimes it will be work. It can be work on a Saturday morning, and sometimes it'll be being with my kids on a Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, I think, it's our attitude to things more than anything else. So I think Zig Ziglar said it best. When we're at the office, we're thinking of the beach. And when we're at the beach, we're thinking of the office. So we get nothing done because we're always traveling. Okay? And I know it's a bit of a cliche about being present, being in the moment. But for a lot of us, that's the very last thing we actually achieve. Because mentally, maybe they're physically, but mentally we're all over the place.
Yeah.
And I think your mother said it, there's no such thing as excuses or reasons, only priorities. Yeah. So what's the priority? Most of us don't see... Let me try and get this right. Yes, we understand at one level we need to go to work because we need to earn income, because we need to provide and look after with responsibilities. Yeah. But an awful lot of us actually aren't in love with what we do. We just need the money. So we'll do whatever we need to get the money. And so it's very hard, I think, to feel that you're achieving something and you're living a purposeful life if you're actually doing something you don't actually enjoy. And I think some of us need to have that honest conversation with ourselves if I had the freedom to choose what to do.
And that's part of work-life balance and integration, the difference between the two. If you're doing work-life balance, then it makes sense to do what my mom said. Hey, Chuck, nobody goes to work to make friends or to have a good time or any of that. You go to work to make money, and then you get the heck out of there, and you come home, and you do, and you're willing to put up with something you don't like for 1/3, basically 1/2 of your waking life every day, because I got work-life balance. Yeah, it's okay. I can hate my work for 8 hours, and then I come home and I can love my life. And integration says, I need to find another job. If I don't love what I'm doing all the time, then there's something wrong with that.
And again, I think you mentioned, Chuck, there's a statistic that says it's not about actually having a friend at work, it's about having a best friend at work. They're actually the most productive, happiest people in work.
Yeah.
If you got a real, I mean, and if think about it, you know, can't wait to get up to get to work.
Yeah.
Not for the work, yes, the work itself, but the company and everything else that's going on.
But that's a mindset shift. As people, well now obviously the retirement age is now moved from 65 to 67 in the UK, is that right? Yeah. Potentially going to 68. The traditional 9 to 5. So there's all these pillars that we have grown up with. 9 to 5, you work 9 to 5. You produce, you go home. You retire at 65, 67, which they're now pushing out to 68. Can we break tradition? If that's what we've bought into, we retire, we fall over the line, and we play golf.
Yeah, a lot of this discussion for me also includes the idea of what it means to be a manager versus a leader. Managers focus on process, leaders focus on result. And the process is, hey, I'm at work from 9 to 5, and I'm with my wife for 2 hours, and I'm with my kids for an hour and a half, and then we do it all again. And I got this process figured out. And I don't want to have to think about it. It's kind of, I would like to be irresponsible in the sense of being super responsible to figure all this out, and then I never have to figure it out again. But a leader would say, what result do I want? Well, I would like to know that when my kids are grown up and gone, that I actually went to their play on Tuesday afternoon. I saw them growing up. I was there, and that requires flexibility. So for me, balance is not generally seen as something that's flexible. Integration is asking the question, what should I be doing right now? What is the highest and best use of my time as an integrated life? Not as a business owner, but should I be with my kids, my wife? Should I take Tuesday off and go to the spa with my wife and then work Saturday? Let's do the right thing instead of doing things right. It's kind of that sort of old idea. And
you're a big advocate of your big why, and how do we marry that? How do we get off the treadmill, which is another 3 to 5 thing we look at on a regular basis? How do we get off? How do we marry all those things up? We've got, you're talking about mindset shift, John, in regards to how we either fell out of love with our businesses, we fall back in love with them, but we also try to bring in an integrated heart towards a work-life balance.
I mean, you often hear people saying, you know, they've taken time out of their work to spend more time with their family. And I can't help myself. I have this thought, but does your family want you to spend more time with them? And you have to ask this question. I genuinely believe, look, we're all here with the same purpose, and that's to make a difference in the world about you.
Yeah.
And so you've got to ask that question.
Yeah, and I think one of the things you're bringing up there is I have a burr in my saddle about this idea of, I hear this all the time from business owners, I need more time in the margins. I'm too busy at work and I'd like to find more time to spend with my family. Well, you got your priorities wrong. You need to be figuring out how to put your family first and then figure out how to get more time at work. When I was a kid, you had these yellow lined pieces of paper in school where you learned how to do your alphabet, and there were 2 red lines down either side. And the stuff in the middle was the body of the text, and then the other stuff on either the one end or the other side was the margins. And you only put things in the margins as sort of an ancillary afterthought, but the real stuff went in the middle. And work-life balance, I've heard too often, has work as its first thing, and then I'll get to my family when I'm after that. But my balance is around putting this huge thing on emphasis on work. What What if we put our lives in the middle and our families in the middle and figure out how to work around that?
Yeah.
That's really cool. But business owners, I mean, and you hear, we've all said it, I'm sure, at some stage, you know, I'm doing this for you.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's a justification. I'm always justifying.
And sometimes in a reaction too.
Yeah. But again, it's back to that thing you said, Chuck. I mean, at certain times, your business needs all your attention. Think about this. The balance doesn't exist. Because if I'm at work and paying attention to work, I am not paying attention at home. If I'm at home and I'm spending time with the kids, I am not paying attention. So it's always out of balance. Okay? So forget about it being balanced. So maybe this is where we get this idea. So I spent 8 hours there, so I need to spend 8 hours here, and then I need to sleep 8 hours. So I have a very balanced life.
And it just has a separation to it.
Yeah.
It's not just balanced, it's separated. And I think that's the integration piece. Again, you bring that in and say, well, what should I be doing right now? And that's a very different way of looking at it. That this, it's not about separating 8 hours for this, 8 hours in that, and 8 hours in that. It's like, what should I be doing? What will I regret later for not having done? And sometimes, hey, I need to work on Sunday afternoons.
Yeah, and that's it, because one of the things Kate would have said to me years back, you're here, but you're not present.
Uh-huh.
And that was one of the things that was a bit of a light bulb moment for me in relation to what is left at the end of the day of me coming home. And I love that, the concept about the family being at the core of it. Now, logistically, I would love to get to the point, what's the big rocks we can put into that at some point in the podcast. But the reality is, I love the concept of, there's the family, what can I build around it?
Mm-hmm.
But we miss that. I mean, the amount of us who sacrifice our families, our health, chasing the wealth, chasing the money. And, you know, I think that it's an Eastern comment. They say, you people in the West spend all your health trying to get wealth, and then you spend all your wealth trying to get your health back.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not only physical health, it's health, the health of your relationships, it's the health of everything. So some things cost too much.
Yeah.
I had a client who taught me this, and we do this, Diane and I do this towards the end of each year, and I learned it from him when we talked about this integration balance thing. He came up with a very practical solution for that. We now take a blank calendar toward the end of the year, and first thing we do is we put on things that, for Diane and I, for the next year, we want to go this place, we want to do that thing, we want to get involved in this ongoing series of plays or whatever. And then we put our individual things on there. Hey, I want to do these kinds of things. And I want to go here by myself. You want to go there by... And we do that. She wants to go visit her dad. And we just, we put our stuff on there. And then we put our family things on there. And then we ask ourselves, okay, now that we have all those things on the calendar, how do we fit our business into that?
Yeah.
And it's amazing how quickly you can do that, because that's putting the right thing in the middle. And then your margins is, how do I work the business around that? And you can do it.
So,
You get what you intend, not what you hope for.
Exactly.
So, to identify some of the big rocks, what can we, for the viewers, what can we start even from a process? Looking at, obviously it has to change in here.
Yeah.
So what's the big rocks? Can we...
Well, the principle of, maybe you should explain the principle of the big rock. So the concept is, if you go and get a big bucket, okay, and if you fill it up with small pebbles, you fill it up the top, can you get any more into it? And you've got these bigger stones and bigger rocks. And the answer is no. If you don't put the big rocks in first, okay, you put the big rocks in first, then you get the smaller rocks around it, then the pebbles are going around it, and then the sand going around it, and then you can always pour a bottle of beer into it. The moral of the story is there's always room for a beer, but that's besides the story. But if you don't make the important things priorities in your life, the turn if the urgent, well then...
Yeah, and so I think that's the big rock for us, Henry, is back to what my mom said that you repeated. Chuck, there's no such thing as excuses. There's not even reasons. There's just priorities. And so every day, every minute of our lives, we have to be asking ourselves, what is the priority right now? And what will I be happy to have had as my priority today, 10 years from now? What will actually make me feel like this was a good day? And putting your family first
Yeah.
might be the right thing to do that day, putting business first, but it's about priorities. It's not about schedules and rigidity and inflexibility and I'm sorry you can't talk to me until after 5 o'clock or I can't be with my family. No, let's figure out how to integrate this stuff so that we actually live a life that is a life of meaning. Work is a place we want to be, home is a place we want to be, and we make a priority of those things in each moment as they're needed.
Yeah, that's fantastic. John, are you any final thoughts on the integration?
Basically, if you don't have a plan for your life, you will end up being a part of somebody else's plan for theirs.
So what we basically talked about today is priorities, figuring out what's important, not putting together a schedule to make your life rigid, but figuring out what you actually should be doing today and feeling free to do it. Put together a schedule at the end of the year, put your family and all your personal priorities on there, and then work your work around that. And let's put work in the margins. Let's put our family in the middle.
That wraps up another episode of the Get Off the Treadmill podcast. If you found this podcast helpful, please subscribe and hit the like button to ensure you are receiving the latest tools you need to grow your business and to get off the treadmill. If you want more information on the 3 to 5 Club, the Crankset Group, or to book Chuck as a business advisor, speaker, or workshop leader, you can contact us at grow@cranksetgroup.com. Until next time, have a great week.